I was a top-tier player, a man of countless identities. But after my 6 wealthy sisters found me, they saw me as a poor, helpless thing who needed protecting. They figured that after so many years on my own, I must have been deprived. So my eldest sister, Victoria, pulled out a card and offered it to me. This is a supplementary card with no limit. Take it, buy whatever you want. Get all the things you never had the chance to own. All eyes were on me, waiting for a look of surprise. But my gaze only lingered on the black card, a symbol of endless wealth and affection, for a single second. Thanks, Victoria. Just as Victoria Walker thought I was about to accept, I turned and picked up my own backpack, which looked old but was impeccably clean. But that's all right, I have my own card. The Walker family froze, and the smile on Victoria's face stiffened. She instinctively looked down at the card I held out. It bore no bank name, only an extremely minimalist, mysterious design that seemed to be etched from pure light. This card. She had only heard of it once, at a highly secretive, small gathering of the world's top capitalists, mentioned by a tycoon who controlled an ancient European financial group. It was said that the holder of such a card could command resources sufficient to affect the economy of a small nation in a short period. She had dismissed it as a legend at the time, but now this legendary card was being casually pulled from an old backpack by her younger brother. Victoria felt as if her entire worldview had been violently shaken. The hand holding her family bank's prized unlimited black card suddenly felt hot, almost too embarrassing to show. The second sister, Tiffany Walker, seeing Victoria stunned, came over to peek at the card in my hand and scoffed. Ethan, what kind of card is that? It's just plain black. Looks so cheap, it doesn't even have a bank name on it. Is it some obscure debit card? Does it even have a decent limit? Listen to your big sis, just take Victoria's card. It works everywhere in the world. You can buy anything. Victoria snapped back to reality, nearly lunging to cover her idiotic sister's mouth. An obscure debit card? A decent limit? Victoria glared at Tiffany, thinking, I swear I want to crack open your head and see if there's anything inside besides motorcycles and video games. Victoria took a deep breath and asked cautiously, Ethan, this card of yours, is it from the Obsidian Bank? I gave her a slightly surprised look and nodded. Oh, the limit's okay. It's enough. Okay. Victoria's mouth twitched. That tycoon had said the limit on such a card, or rather its authority to mobilize resources, was something that could never be described as merely okay. She quietly retracted her own black card, which she had once thought was the epitome of power, feeling a flush of heat on her face. In front of Ethan's card, hers really did seem a bit pathetic. Tiffany was still clueless. Obsidian Bank? What bank is that? Never heard of it. Is it better than the banks our family works with? The third sister, Nicole, also noticed Victoria's strange reaction and examined the card in my hand. Though she didn't know finance, the card's minimalist, high-tech aesthetic gave her an instinctive feeling that it was anything but ordinary. Mr. and Mrs. Walker didn't know anything about an Obsidian Bank, but seeing their eldest daughter's stunned expression, they understood the card must have an astonishing origin. Mrs. Walker asked gingerly, Ethan, dear, where did you get this card? I had already put the mysterious card back in my wallet and tossed the wallet into my backpack, my tone casual. Someone gave it to me. Who gave it to you? I glanced at her without answering, simply saying, I'm a little tired. I'm going upstairs to rest. With that, I gave them a slight nod and turned to walk up the stairs. My figure was still lean, but my departure left the 5 people in the living room speechless for a long time. Tiffany was completely bewildered. Seriously, Victoria, what just happened? Our little brother turned down your black card. Victoria watched until her brother disappeared around the bend in the staircase before letting out a slow breath. She rubbed her temples, her voice graver than ever before. It's not that he turned it down. She paused, looking at her curious family. It's that we may have underestimated him. She held up her own, unsent black card. Compared to the card Ethan just showed us, this is basically a toy credit card. Sis, are you serious? That plain black card is that powerful? Tiffany shot up from her seat. Victoria didn't say a word, but her expression said it all. The living room fell silent once again. Tiffany plopped back onto the sofa, muttering to herself, Holy cow, who in the world is my brother? Early the next morning, Tiffany burst into the dining room. Dad, Mom, Victoria, Nicole, guess how late I was up last night researching that Obsidian Bank? The entire family's attention immediately snapped to her. Mr. Walker put down his newspaper. What did you find? Absolutely nothing. Tiffany slumped into a chair and chugged a glass of milk. The internet is completely clean, not a single trace. I asked a few of my friends in finance, and none of them had ever heard of it. Victoria, you're the amazing one for even recognizing it. Victoria ate her breakfast slowly, saying nothing. She hadn't slept well either, her mind filled with the image of that card and my calm face. Mrs. Walker worried aloud. What on earth did Ethan go through during all those years he was away from us? Whatever he went through, he's our son, Mr. Walker stated firmly. From now on, no one is to ask about the bank card again. We don't want to pressure him. Tiffany's energy dipped for a moment, then she bounced back. It's fine. If he doesn't care about a black card, He'll care about something else. I'll take him for a ride today. Haha, my new motorcycle just arrived. All guys love bikes. Nicole landed a quiet jab. Tiffany, are you sure he'll be impressed by your bike? His card could probably buy a whole fleet of them. Tiffany was left speechless, glaring at her. Just then, I came downstairs. Mrs. Walker immediately greeted me with a warm smile. Ethan, you're awake. Come have breakfast. Tiffany instantly forgot the previous blow and rushed over. Hey, Ethan, how about I take you out today? I've got a new motorcycle. I can take you for a ride. I sat down and picked up a slice of toast. Thanks, Tiffany, but no thanks. I need to get something from my room. Get something? What is it? I can help. Just some old things. I can get them myself. Tiffany followed me upstairs, claiming she was showing me the way, but really she wanted to see if I was satisfied with the room they had so carefully prepared. Pushing open the lavish door again, Tiffany boasted, "So, what do you think, Ethan? This room is pretty great, right? We had it done to the highest standards." My eyes swept over the luxury goods, and I nodded before walking straight to an old suitcase in the corner. Tiffany looked a little disappointed but watched me with curiosity. I opened the suitcase and took out a dusty, unremarkable metal case from the very bottom. It was about the size of a laptop but slightly thicker. Tiffany was curious. "Ethan, what's that?" "Your prized collection." I didn't answer, just pressed a spot on the side of the case with my finger. A thin blue line of light suddenly appeared on the surface, quickly scanning my fingerprint and iris. Then the lid slid open silently. Tiffany leaned in for a look, and her eyes widened in shock. The contents of the case were beyond anything she could have imagined. It was compartmentalized, lined with deep black anti-shock velvet, and several items rested quietly in their own sections. There was a wristwatch with an incredibly complex dial, a subtle shimmer moving beneath its sapphire crystal face. She had only seen a similar style in a top-tier watch magazine's column on legendary collectibles, rumored to be the work of a reclusive master watchmaker. There was also a pen, a seemingly ordinary black fountain pen with smooth lines, but its cap was topped with a deep black diamond. For some reason, she felt the pen exuded a cold, high-tech aura, looking more advanced than the top-of-the-line equipment in her lab. This wasn't just old things. This was a portable, high-tech treasury. Tiffany's jaw dropped. She pointed at the watch, her voice stuttering. "Ethan, this watch." I casually picked up the watch and glanced at it. "Oh, an old man gave it to me, said to wear it for fun." "For fun?" Tiffany felt like her heart couldn't take it. She pointed a trembling finger at the pen. "And what about this?" I picked up the pen and spun it deftly between my fingers. "It's for writing. Sometimes it doubles as a temporary decryption device." Tiffany's brain completely shut down. She looked at the old things in my case, any one of which could have headlined an auction, then looked around at the room full of luxury goods they were so proud of. Suddenly, all those clothes and accessories seemed unbearably tacky. This room was not worthy of his old things. I took a small blue crystal storage card from the case, closed and locked it, and placed it back in the suitcase. When I turned around, I saw Tiffany still frozen in place, her expression blank. "Tiffany, what's wrong?" Tiffany snapped out of it. "And nothing. Ethan, that case of yours is really unique." She wanted to cry but had no tears. She finally understood how Victoria must have felt when she took back her black card yesterday. They thought their little brother was here to experience a life of luxury, but it turned out he was here to flex on them, and in a way they couldn't even comprehend. I just grunted in acknowledgement and walked out with the storage card. Tiffany followed behind me, completely dazed. In the dining room, the rest of the family was puzzled by her shell-shocked appearance. "What's wrong with Tiffany?" Tiffany collapsed into a chair, her eyes vacant. "Dad, Mom, I think what we prepared for Ethan is a little shabby. The stuff in one of his old boxes feels more valuable than everything our entire family got for him." Victoria's hand, holding a spoon, froze. Nicole's chopsticks hovered in mid-air. Mr. and Mrs. Walker looked at each other in confusion. Tiffany clutched her head in agony. "I think I'll just keep my new bike for myself." She felt her worldview shatter and reform once again when her brother's small metal case opened. This whole journey of doting on their long-lost brother was starting to feel more like they were the ones being completely outclassed by him. Breakfast ended with Tiffany in a state of perpetual shock. Mrs. Walker looked at me as I quietly drank my milk. "Ethan, about your schooling, your father and I have discussed it. St. Jude's Prep is the best private school in the city. We were thinking you could start as a junior. What do you think?" As soon as she said this, the whole family looked at me. Tiffany temporarily snapped out of her case shock. "Don't worry, Ethan. St. Jude's has connections with our family. I graduated from there. If anyone dares to bully you, I'll take care of them for you. And if you have any trouble with your studies, you can come to me," Victoria added. They all thought this was a perfectly natural arrangement and were prepared for me to be either nervous or resistant. I put down my milk glass, looked up at Mrs. Walker, my tone as calm as ever. "Thank you for the arrangement, but it's not necessary." Mrs. Walker was taken aback. "Ethan, are you worried you won't be able to keep up? It's okay, we can hire the best tutors." I shook my head and pulled a thin, folder-like electronic device from my seemingly bottomless canvas bag. After tapping the screen a few times, I turned it towards my family. I've already completed my foundational education. Here are some of the certifications. The walkers instinctively leaned in to look. The screen displayed several different digital certificates and transcripts, all in English. Nicole had the sharpest eyes. She looked closer and gasped. MIT OpenCourseWare Advanced Certification, Stanford Online Young Scholars Program. And is that a gold medal from the International Physics Olympiad in the independent competitor category? With every title she read aloud, the room grew quieter. Victoria knew the weight of these achievements. They were far beyond what any normal high school student could attain, especially the Olympiad gold medal as an independent, which was incredibly prestigious. Winners were typically scouted by major research labs. Tiffany didn't understand the specifics, but she had certainly heard of MIT and Stanford. Her eyes were wide. Wait a minute, Ethan, weren't you living out in the sticks? Where did you get all this? Mr. and Mrs. Walker were completely floored. They looked from the dazzling achievements on the screen to their calm son, their minds struggling to process it all. I retracted the device and said flatly, I had some free time back then, so I taught myself a few things. I just got the certifications along the way. The Walkers were collectively petrified. Tiffany felt like she'd been shot in the knee. I nearly had my legs broken by Dad just to get into college, and my brothers had some free time results completely blow me out of the water. Mrs. Walker opened her mouth, taking a moment to find her voice. Well, Ethan, what are your plans now? Do you want to apply to university directly? Your father and I can help you with the connections. I thought for a moment and said, not for now. If the school needs it, I could be a guest lecturer, share some learning experiences. A lecturer? A guest lecturer at St. Jude's Prep? An image instantly flashed in Tiffany's mind of her slacker friends sitting in an auditorium, listening to my brother lecture on astrophysics or advanced quantum mechanics. The thought was too horrifying to contemplate. She was afraid they'd drop dead on the spot. So, Ethan, you don't need to go to high school anymore, right? No, I've already learned what I need to. Mr. Walker rubbed his temples. He had navigated the business world for decades and seen it all, but he had never seen anything like his own son. Since Ethan has already completed his studies, he won't be going to St. Jude's. As for the future, Ethan, you can do whatever you want. The family will support you. Their carefully prepared plans to dote on him had once again crumbled in the face of his absolute competence. News of the Walker family's long-lost son returning spread through the upper crust, and invitations began to pile up like snowflakes. Mrs. Walker carefully selected one, a charity gala hosted by the Lynch family, deciding it would be my official introduction to their social circle. Before we got out of the car, my parents tried to soothe me. Ethan, don't be nervous. Just stick with your mother. I gave a slight nod. Inside the banquet hall, glasses clinked as my parents and I made our entrance, immediately drawing the attention of the entire room. Many people came over to make small talk, their gazes a mixture of curiosity and scrutiny. I simply stood quietly by my parents' side, responding to greetings with brief, polite, but distant replies. A group of young men and women who had been surrounding the Lynch family's son, Brandon Lynch, glanced in my direction. Brandon sneered. He had a long-standing crush on Tiffany Walker and felt an instinctive dislike for me. The kid they dragged back from the sticks. He probably can't even read a French menu. He picked up a glass of wine and walked over. Mrs. Walker, this must be Ethan, right? He looks quite handsome, Brandon said with a smile, then turned his gaze to me, a subtle air of superiority in his eyes. Ethan, is this your first time at a party like this? Getting used to it? If there's anything you don't understand, feel free to ask me. Mrs. Walker frowned slightly, about to speak, but I had already looked up at Brandon. It's fine. Brandon was taken aback by my calm, emotionless gaze. Felt like punching a pillow. Unwilling to let it go, he deliberately spoke to a nearby waiter in accented French. A glass of champagne, please. Then he turned back to me. Ethan, what would you like to drink? Should I order for you in English? The surrounding area quieted down as many people realized Brandon was intentionally trying to embarrass me. Just then, a small commotion arose at the entrance. Several foreign guests in suits, their bearing clearly different from the local business magnates, walked in. Mr. Lynch hurried over to greet them. One of them, a white-haired gentleman, scanned the room as if searching for someone. When his eyes landed on me, they lit up. He walked straight towards me, completely ignoring Mr. Lynch and Brandon standing beside him. A surprised smile spread across the old gentleman's face as he approached me. Ethan, I never expected to run into you here. The entire hall fell silent. This gentleman was the representative of an ancient European financial conglomerate, a man of such esteemed status that even Mr. Lynch had to treat him with the utmost care. And he had just approached and addressed the newly returned Walker family son with such familiarity? Mrs. Walker was also stunned. The smile on Brandon's face froze, and he nearly dropped his wine glass. Mr. Vincent, it's been a while. My French was flawless and elegant, with an authentic Parisian accent that was leagues above Brandon's deliberately showy pronunciation. Mr. Vincent laughed heartily and switched to his native tongue, speaking rapidly about recent international economic trends and developments in a cutting-edge tech field, clearly valuing my opinion. I responded fluently and with ease, and the occasional points I made had Mr. Vincent nodding in agreement. The two of us conversed as if no one else was there, leaving the surrounding crowd dumbfounded. This was the kid from the sticks who couldn't understand French? His language skills and knowledge surpassed almost everyone in the room. Brandon's face flushed red and then turned pale. He stood there like a superfluous piece of scenery, so embarrassed he could have dug a hole in the floor with his toes. Moments ago, he was mocking me for not being able to read a French menu, and now I was casually chatting with a European tycoon. Tiffany appeared out of nowhere, sidling up to Mrs. Walker. Watching me converse so eloquently, she said excitedly, "Mom, look at my brother. Isn't he amazing?" Mrs. Walker watched her radiant son, feeling both proud and dazed. Mr. Vincent and I talked for several more minutes before his assistant reluctantly reminded him of his schedule. Before leaving, he handed me his personal business card. I accepted it calmly. Once Mr. Vincent left, the stares from the crowd grew even more intense. Brandon's face was ashen. He looked like he wanted the ground to swallow him whole. My gaze shifted to him, my expression still neutral, and I spoke in English. "Thank you, but I can order for myself." Brandon felt as if he had been slapped hard across the face, a burning sting of humiliation. Tiffany let out an unapologetic snort of laughter, which triggered a few suppressed chuckles from the crowd. Unable to bear it any longer, Brandon hurried away. I picked up a glass of juice and took a sip, as if nothing had happened. Tiffany came up to me, giving me a thumbs up. "Ethan, that was brilliant. From now on, I'm on your team." I glanced at her but said nothing. At this gala, with my absolute competence, I had turned everyone who was waiting to see me make a fool of myself into a joke. The Walker family's young son had made his debut in high society, and it was a legendary one. Mrs. Walker hadn't even had a chance to speak to me before her 3 daughters swooped in like a protective wall, surrounding me. Victoria's face was cold, her sharp gaze sweeping across the room. "What just happened? I expect it to be the first and last time. Ethan is my brother, the rightful son of the Walker family. Anyone who makes him unhappy is making the entire Walker family unhappy." The whispers that had started around the room instantly died down. Victoria was known in the business world as a formidable figure, and no one dared to take her words lightly. The second sister, Tiffany, was less subtle. She rolled up imaginary sleeves. "Did you all hear that? My brother, Ethan. If anyone ever tries to pull that kind of passive-aggressive crap on him again, they'll have to answer to my fists first." As she spoke, she made a fist and glared fiercely in the direction of the young men and women who had been standing with Brandon. They turned pale and quickly looked down. The third sister, Nicole, pushed up her glasses, her voice cool. "Data analysis indicates that malicious slander and ostracism have a significant negative psychological impact. The Walker Corporation's legal department has been quite idle lately. They wouldn't mind taking on a few defamation lawsuits for practice." 3 sisters, each with a different style but all equally determined to protect their brother, stood like 3 guardian deities, shielding me and forcefully declaring my status. Anyone who had been muttering, "Just some lucky poor kid they found," now completely abandoned the thought. Mrs. Walker watched this scene, both amused and touched. She tugged on Mr. Walker's sleeve. A flash of relief crossed his eyes, but it was mostly pride in me. It's good that the girls know to protect their brother, even if they might be a little overprotective. Their stance looked like they were ready to declare war on the world. Mr. Lynch hurried over to smooth things over. "Victoria, Tiffany, Nicole, please calm down. They're just kids who don't know any better. I've already sent Brandon home to reflect on his actions. Ethan, my boy, you've been wronged. Let me apologize on his behalf." Victoria's expression softened slightly, but her tone remained cool. "Mr. Lynch, you're being too serious. We just don't want something like this to happen again." It won't. Absolutely not. Don't be scared, Ethan, your sister's here. What do you want to eat? I'll get it for you. There are some mini cakes over there. I checked, they're not poisoned." Thanks, Tiffany. I'm not hungry." Nicole quietly handed me a glass of warm water. "You've been talking a lot. Rehydrate." I took the water from her. "Thanks, Nicole." I was being protected meticulously by my 3 sisters. When I wanted to get some fruit, Tiffany would dash over. "Stay seated, Ethan. I'll get it. Which one do you want? This one? This one? I'll just get them all." When I wanted to speak to my mother, Victoria would immediately clear a path, her eyes scanning the surroundings as if expecting an assassin to leap out at any moment. I felt a bit helpless, but watching my sisters act as if they were facing a great enemy, yet so clumsily trying to take care of me, something hard inside me seemed to soften just a little. For the rest of the gala, I was probably the most idle person in the entire room. Anyone who tried to strike up a conversation was deterred by the Walker sisters' glares or words. I just had to sit there quietly, accepting the food and drinks they brought me, along with the envious or awestruck gazes from everyone else. This continued until the gala ended and we were in the car heading home. That was so satisfying. Did you see the looks on their faces? Haha, let's see who dares to look down on my brother now. Victoria rubbed her temples, finding her sister a bit loud but not stopping her. Nicole said to me earnestly, Ethan, if you ever encounter anyone or anything that makes you uncomfortable, tell us immediately. I watched the neon light stream past the car window and gave a soft Mr. Walker, who was driving, glanced in the rearview mirror at his son, tightly encircled by his 3 daughters, and couldn't help but smile. Alright, even if this method of doting was a bit excessive, it wasn't so bad. At least his son would never be bullied by anyone again. Meanwhile, I, the one being so heavily protected, was thinking to myself, next time there's a gala like this, I should find an excuse not to go. It's a bit noisy. The next morning, the Walker family's butler, Alfred, stood outside my door with a standard professional smile. Behind him, a maid held a tray with an exquisite breakfast. He knocked gently. Young master, are you awake? Your breakfast has been brought up. There was a slight noise from within, and the door opened. But it wasn't me who opened it. It was a young woman in her 20s with delicate features. Alfred was taken aback. And you are? The young woman gave a slight nod, her tone concise. Chloe, the young master's assistant. Assistant? He hadn't heard anything about the young master having an assistant. He instinctively glanced into the room and saw that I was already fully dressed, sitting at a small table by the window. In front of me was a slim laptop, its screen scrolling rapidly with data streams. Beside me was a half-finished glass of what looked like some kind of nutritional supplement. The luxurious decorations the staff had carefully arranged the night before seemed to have been moved to less conspicuous places. The entire space had become exceptionally neat and orderly, almost with the cold feel of a laboratory. Chloe stepped aside. Breakfast isn't necessary. The young master has already eaten. Alfred looked at the suspicious nutritional drink, then at the fragrant oatmeal and delicate pastries on the maid's tray behind him. He hesitated. But this was specially prepared by the kitchen at the madam's request. It's very nutritious. Chloe cut him off, her expression unchanging. I am responsible for the young master's diet, which is precisely nutritionally balanced. The sugar and calorie content of these items are excessive and do not meet health standards. The maid holding the tray flinched. Alfred thought to himself, in all my decades of service, this is the first time anyone has questioned the professional standards of the Walker family's chef. Just then, I finished my work, closed my laptop, and walked over. Alfred quickly put on a smile. Young master, about this breakfast. Listen to Chloe, I said succinctly. Alfred's smile froze on his face. Chloe was already efficiently handling the follow-up. Additionally, I will be responsible for the young master's laundry and room cleaning. Please inform the other staff that they are not to enter his room without permission. Is there anything else? And no, nothing, Alfred replied instinctively, leading the dazed maid away. In the hallway, the maid whispered, Alfred, that assistant, Chloe, she's so. It's not our place to discuss the family's affairs. He returned to the dining room and reported the morning's events to Mr. and Mrs. Walker, who were having breakfast. That is the situation, sir, madam. It seems the young master does not require the services of the household staff. An assistant? Ethan brought an assistant with him, and his breakfast, he drank some kind of nutritional supplement. What kind of supplement? Can that stuff even taste good? Did he have such a hard time out there that he's used to eating tasteless food? No way. I'm going to make him try our chef's cooking, Tiffany said, starting to get up. Stay put, Mr. Walker commanded. Didn't you hear Alfred? His assistant is very professional. Don't go and cause trouble. Tiffany retorted. How am I causing trouble? I'm just concerned about him. Nicole calmly analyzed the situation. Based on Alfred's description, Chloe's behavior is highly efficient, suggesting professional training. Ethan's lifestyle may be different from ours. Forcing a change could provoke a negative reaction. We'll do as Ethan wishes, Mr. Walker instructed Alfred. From now on, matters concerning the young master will be handled according to his and his assistant's preferences. Yes, sir, Alfred replied with a bow. Tiffany slumped back into her chair, muttering, I just wanted him to eat something nice. A little later, as Victoria was leaving for work, she passed by the garden and saw Chloe rapidly taking notes on a tablet while I stood before a prized orchid, gently touching its leaves. Chloe reported, Sir, soil moisture is 0.7% above optimal. Light exposure needs to be increased by 15 minutes today. Additionally, minor pest activity has been detected on the underside of leaf 3. It has been marked. I recommend applying 0.05 milliliters of bioagent 3. I nodded. All right, take care of it. Victoria paused in her tracks, feeling as though her brother's life and theirs existed in completely different dimensions. She silently turned and left. At lunchtime, Chloe and I did not appear in the dining room. Alfred came to report. Miss Chloe borrowed the kitchen to prepare lunch for the young master. It has already been sent up. Mrs. Walker looked at the lavish spread on the table and sighed. That child, he's just too independent. Tiffany looked at the table full of food and suddenly lost her appetite. I kind of want to know what that precisely nutritionally balanced meal his assistant made tastes like. For the first time, the entire Walker household clearly realized that this young master not only didn't need their protection, he didn't seem to need their care in any aspect of his life. Tiffany was sprawled on the sofa playing a game when her phone started buzzing like crazy. It was a group chat with her friends. Tiff, check Twitter. Your brother is trending. The real Walker heir is drop-dead gorgeous. Which media outlet took this? The angle is weird, but damn, he's hot. Tiffany's heart skipped a beat. What was going on? She checked the trending list, and sure enough, there it was, #WalkerHairStuns. Clicking on it revealed several candid photos taken at the charity gala. The comment section was already exploding. OMG, this is the kid they found in the sticks? He's gorgeous. A feast for the eyes. Give me 3 minutes. I need all the info on this guy. Is it just me? Or does he look a little pretentious? He has that, I hate everyone look. Someone's just jealous. He has every right to be pretentious. Tiffany read the comments, especially the critical ones, and her anger flared. How dare they talk about my brother? I'll destroy them. But just as she placed her fingers on the keyboard, the page stuttered and then forcefully refreshed. The trending topic was gone. The hashtag that had been buzzing with activity moments ago now led to a page not found error. Tiffany stared, confused. She reloaded the app, but the topic had indeed vanished from the trending list as if it had never existed. When she searched for the keywords, the related tweets were disappearing in real time. Did the Walker Corp PR department move that fast? She muttered. She opened the family group chat and sent a message. Who ordered the takedown? That was quick, props. Victoria quickly replied, what trending topic? Nicole added, Tiffany, I was just in the lab. The PR department didn't receive any such directive. What was going on? That evening, when Victoria and Nicole got home, Tiffany recounted the incident. Victoria immediately called the head of PR, who was just as confused. He said he was about to report the issue, but before he could even act, the topic had been completely scrubbed, and the cleanup was remarkably thorough. It wasn't our people, not our family? Then who did it? A good Samaritan. I, who had been sitting quietly reading a book, didn't even look up. It was too noisy. I had them take it down. My finger swiped casually across my tablet screen. The living room fell dead silent. The gazes of all 5 walkers shot towards me. How did he take it down? He's just been sitting there reading a book this whole time. Tiffany's mouth was open wide enough to fit an egg. Ethan, how did you do that? I lifted my eyelids and gave her a look that seemed to say, was that supposed to be difficult? I sent a message, I said simply. Sent a message? Who do you message to make a Twitter trend vanish without a trace in an instant? Victoria thought of the Obsidian bank card, and her heart pounded. Could he have mobilized the resources behind that card just to remove a trivial, gossipy trending topic? Nicole's eyes sparkled with intense curiosity. She felt her study of her younger brother had just entered a new, fascinating phase. Mrs. and Mr. Walker exchanged a look, seeing the same shock and bewilderment in each other's eyes. Tiffany lunged onto the sofa next to me, her eyes shining brightly. Ethan, tell me the truth. Do you know the CEO of Twitter? Or are you some kind of secret, top-tier hacker? I closed my book, stood up, and avoided her overly intense gaze. My tone remained flat. I just know a few friends who do data cleanup. With that, I took my book and went upstairs. I left the Walker family petrified in the living room. What kind of friends who do data cleanup could casually sweep a Twitter trend away like trash? It's over. I feel like my brother didn't come here for a family reunion. He came to give us a reality check, Tiffany murmured. Victoria rubbed her throbbing temples and leaned back on the sofa. For the first time, she felt that managing a multi-billion-dollar corporation was far simpler than understanding her own brother's behavior. Mr. Walker was silent for a long moment before instructing Alfred. From now on, we don't need to worry about any online information regarding Ethan. He knows what he's doing. He finally understood. They wanted to protect their son, but their son was a walking nuclear-level defense system. This attempt to dote on him was proving to be both terrifying and comical. Meanwhile, the cause of it all, I returned to my room and gave Chloe a simple order. In the future, handle any similar, pointless information directly. Yes, sir. It was as if I had just swatted a fly. Late at night, Mr. Walker sat in his study, frowning at his computer screen. On it was an investigative report on my past 18 years, which was almost completely blank. Investigation met with unknown resistance, triggering high-level information firewalls multiple times. Recommend terminating further inquiry. Risk level, extremely high. Sigh. Mr. Walker rubbed his brow, feeling a wave of helplessness. It was absurd that even mobilizing the Walker family's core resources couldn't uncover anything. The events of the past few days had made it clear that his long-lost son was no ordinary person. There was a soft knock on the study door. Dad, still up? Victoria walked in, carrying a glass of warm milk. Still looking into Ethan's past? Can't find anything. It's like it's been deliberately erased. Sigh. Victoria placed the milk on the desk, her expression serious. Dad, I agree. There's more to Ethan than meets the eye. That card, I later discreetly asked a senior figure in our circle about it. He hinted it was a transcendent level pass, and that its holder wielded unimaginable power. Mr. Walker's heart skipped a beat. He had vaguely heard of this concept, which represented a hidden circle that truly controlled the world from beneath the surface of ordinary society. And his assistant, Chloe. Her posture and movements, it's highly likely she's from a top-tier security firm, or has an even more specialized background. The father and daughter fell into silence. So, the Walker family has brought back a... Victoria didn't know what word to use. Dad, I just never imagined that this is how he spent all those years he was away. No matter who he is our son. If he doesn't want to talk about it, we won't ask. If he needs a family, we will be his family. Tiffany, Nicole, and I feel the same way. It's just, it feels like there's nothing we can do to help him. Then we will stand behind him unconditionally when he needs us. If he wants to be an ordinary person, we will dote on him in an ordinary way. The next morning at breakfast, the Walkers all looked at me with a complex mixture of awe. I put down my utensils and looked at Mr. Walker. I'd like to go out today. Where to? Should I have the driver take you? No, let your sister go with you. Victoria immediately sat up straight. I shook my head. No need. Chloe will drive. All right, be safe. Come back early, Mr. Walker said, his words lacking any real authority. After all, his son was probably more capable than the entire Walker security detail combined. Only after Chloe and I left did the family finally relax. Sigh. Having breakfast with Ethan is more stressful than a board meeting with Dad, Tiffany whispered. Mr. Walker shot her a glare, but secretly agreed. He looked out the window in the direction his son had left, his heart a mix of shock and pride. A few hours later, Chloe and I returned home. I was carrying a plain black gift box and headed straight upstairs with Chloe. Just a few minutes after Chloe and I returned to my room, Nicole burst through the front door, sporting 2 heavy dark circles under her eyes. She slammed her bag on the sofa. Damn it, they're back. Those persistent bastards. Nicole, what's wrong? Is there a problem at the company? Nicole ran her hands through her hair in frustration. It's those hackers again, attacking our company's core server. The idiots in the tech department can't hold them off. A competitor was playing dirty, and this wasn't the first time they'd used hackers. They had managed to fend them off before, but this time the attackers had clearly hired experts. Did you call the police? Yes, but it's useless. By the time the specialists get here, it'll be too late. If our data is leaked or destroyed this time, the company is finished. Victoria frowned. Do you need support from the corporate tech division? Nicole grabbed her laptop, her fingers flying across the trackpad, but the screen was a solid block of red, displaying a huge warning symbol and a countdown timer. It's too late. Their attack is too strong. It's over. It's really over this time. The atmosphere in the living room was tense. A cool voice cut through the air. Nicole, can I see? Everyone turned to the sound and saw me standing at the top of the stairs, quietly watching them. Nicole was startled, then gave a wry smile. Ethan, it's nothing. I can handle it. I walked over, my eyes fixed on the blood-red warning on the screen. This virus looks familiar. The entire family looked shocked. Ignoring their astonishment, I held out my hand to Nicole. Let me borrow your laptop. As if possessed, Nicole handed it over. The moment she did, she regretted it. What could Ethan possibly know about this? This was just messing around. I took the laptop, sat on the sofa, and placed it on my lap. I put my fingers on the keyboard but didn't move immediately. Instead, I turned to Nicole and asked, is there a backup admin key? X7 Alpha 9 Delta. Nicole recited a string of characters automatically. X7A9D2, that's the backup key. I nodded, and my fingers began to move. My movements weren't fast. My fingertips tapped the keyboard with a crisp, regular rhythm. On the screen, the terrifying red warnings and jumbled code began to recede at a visible rate as I entered a seemingly random line of commands. At first, Nicole watched with her heart in her throat, afraid one wrong move would cause a total system collapse. But as she watched, her jaw slowly dropped. This wasn't C++, nor was it Python. The structure was so unconventional. Where on earth did this coding style come from? In less than 3 minutes, the system interface returned to normal. I quickly typed a few more lines of code, and a complex network topology appeared on the screen, with a blinking red dot frantically trying to escape. Located, I said, then entered one last command and hit enter. The red dot on the screen exploded into a patch of gray. Their main server should be offline for a while. I closed the laptop and handed it back to the completely petrified Nicole. Nicole took the laptop with stiff, trembling hands. The living room was deathly quiet. She frantically checked the system logs and then called her head of tech. The manager's voice on the phone was ecstatic and strained. Ms. Walker, the virus just vanished. Yes, the data is completely intact. and we traced the attack source. It looks like they blew themselves up. Their entire node is down. Nicole hung up the phone and stared at her brother, who looked as calm as if he had just poured her a glass of water. Her mind was buzzing. Ethan, you? Her tongue felt tied, unable to form a complete sentence. My tone was matter of fact. I was bored once. Read a few books on programming. Read a few books on programming. She felt like her decade of computer science studies had been a complete waste. Tiffany leaped up and grabbed my arm. Ethan, you're my brother. No, you're my god. I love you. I frowned slightly and discreetly pulled my arm away. That's not necessary. Mr. and Mrs. Walker and Victoria watched this scene, unsure of what expression to make. When did he learn to do that? As I walked upstairs, Nicole watched my back and murmured, I think the Walker family might have just produced someone who is going to change the world. Victoria thought to herself, I think that's a very real possibility. Meanwhile, the one who was going to change the world returned to his room and gave Chloe a calm order. That virus variant from just now, send me the code. It's a little interesting. Yes, sir. Nicole paced the living room, clutching the laptop as if it had been blessed, muttering, it makes no sense. The structure of that decryption code completely defies existing frameworks. Victoria, did you see that? My brother, 3 minutes. Just 3 minutes. Victoria, getting dizzy from her pacing, replied wearily, I saw. Nicole turned to Tiffany, her voice filled with excitement. That was Scorpion. They're a top-ranked international hacking group. Our company's best tech team worked for 3 days and nights and got nowhere. Ethan did it in 3 minutes and took out their home base as a bonus. How is that just reading a few books on programming? Mr. Walker held his teacup, his hand trembling slightly. He tried to maintain a fatherly composure. Ethan probably just has a special talent for this sort of thing. A special talent? This is a whole different league. It's a complete curb stomp. Dad, you just don't get it, Nicole exclaimed. Mrs. Walker looked upstairs worriedly. Do you think Ethan is tired? He used his brain so much just now. Nicole, now you see how amazing our brother is, right? I told you not to challenge his profession with your hobby, Tiffany said smugly. You're right, Tiffany. I was being narrow-minded, Nicole admitted. The way she looked at her brother now was filled with the pure adoration of a tech geek for a supreme master. Haha, my brother is just full of hidden talents. Just then, I came downstairs, looking like I was about to head out. I'm going out for a bit. Oh, Ethan, you're going out? Do you need a ride? Or do you need anything? The latest top-of-the-line computer? A server? I can get you a dozen. Nicole was unusually enthusiastic. I paused, taken aback by her sudden fervor, then shook my head. No need. I'm just going out to buy something. Oh, buying something? What are you buying? I'll go with you, Nicole insisted. Let your sister go with him, Mrs. Walker quickly chimed in. The whole family was now ready to treat me like a king. I looked at Nicole's eager face, paused for 2 seconds, and reiterated, I just happened to learn a little about computers in the past. The whole family thought, a little? You call that a little? Nicole's mouth twitched as she struggled to maintain a smile. Ethan, you're too modest. If that was a little, then the rest of us are computer illiterate. I didn't seem to understand their excitement and said calmly that organization's defense architecture had 3 obvious vulnerabilities. It wasn't difficult to exploit them. Obvious? Not difficult. Our tech department worked themselves bald and couldn't find them. Ethan, could you elaborate a little? A buffer overflow on port 8080, combined with a doubly linked list to bypass the stack protection, and then, Nicole quickly pulled out her phone to take notes. As she listened, her eyes grew brighter and brighter. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. So it can be done like that. Why didn't I think of that? By the time she finished her notes and looked up, Chloe and I were already out the door. Nicole clutched her phone and said excitedly to her family, Did you hear that? Those few sentences of guidance from Ethan are worth a fortune. No, a king's ransom. Is it really that amazing? Amazing doesn't even cover it. With this, our company can build the best firewall in the country. No, in the world. Victoria adjusted her cuffs and said lightly, From now on, if the family has any technical problems, we can just go directly to Ethan. It's not just technical problems, Nicole said, now having blind faith in her brother. I feel like even if the company were about to go bankrupt, Ethan could casually save it. Does that mean if my engine breaks down during my next race, I can ask Ethan to take a look? Tiffany asked. The entire family looked at her as if she were an idiot. Tiffany sheepishly shut her mouth. Mr. Walker took a deep breath. In short, from now on, whatever Ethan says goes. If he says he knows a little, we'll just assume he knows a billion things. The Walkers all nodded in solemn agreement. They had finally and completely accepted the new reality. Their young master was a walking, all-powerful cheat code. Mrs. Walker suffered from angina, a condition she developed in her youth, which she managed with medication. That afternoon, while having tea in the garden with some friends, she suddenly turned pale, clutched her chest, and collapsed, gasping for breath. Madam, quick, her medicine. Hello, Dr. Evans? Get to the Walker estate now. Mrs. Walker is having an attack. Mr. Walker and his 3 daughters rushed home from their offices and schools upon hearing the news. Honey, don't be scared. The doctor is on his way. Just hang in there. Mom, the medicine? Did you take it? I just took it, but it doesn't seem to be helping this time. Mrs. Walker shook her head weakly. The family physician, Dr. Evans, arrived in a hurry. Mr. Walker, this attack is very severe. The usual medication isn't working. We need to get her to the hospital immediately. Then what are we waiting for? Get the car ready, Victoria commanded sharply. To the nearest hospital. I came downstairs and saw my mother groaning in pain on the sofa, my brow furrowing slightly. I walked quickly over, pushing through the crowd. Ethan, this is much more serious than you think. Don't do anything reckless, Dr. Evans urged. Tiffany instinctively tried to stop me, but I ignored her. I knelt down and pressed my fingers precisely on a pressure point on Mrs. Walker's inner wrist. Let her go, Dr. Evans exclaimed. Without looking back, I produced a small metal case from somewhere, opened it, and revealed several needles as fine as hairs. My fingers deftly picked one up and steadily inserted it into another pressure point on the side of Mrs. Walker's neck. This is madness, Dr. Evans shouted angrily. You can't just perform acupuncture like that. Just then, Mrs. Walker's rapid breathing began to visibly slow down. Though still weak, her pain had clearly subsided significantly. Everyone was stunned. I put away the needle, took out a small notepad and pen from the case, and scribbled down a list of herbs and dosages. I tore off the sheet and handed it to the dumbfounded Dr. Evans. Get these herbs according to this prescription. Boil 3 cups of water down to 1. Immediately, my tone left no room for argument. Dr. Evans instinctively took the paper, his eyes widening in disbelief. The lost, tranquil heart decoction. How do you know? I'll go right now. Dr. Evans clutched the prescription like a sacred text and rushed out, shouting as he ran, Quick! To the apothecary downtown. No, I'll go myself. The living room once again fell into a strange silence, with everyone staring at me. Mrs. Walker took my hand, tears streaming down her face. Ethan, you know how to do this? I learned a little from an old traditional healer a long time ago. Tiffany's mouth hung open, and she couldn't close it. She felt her understanding of the phrase learned a little was completely collapsing. Nicole was frantically typing notes, her eyes gleaming. Subject has mastered a lost form of traditional healing. Victoria looked at my calm profile and realized for the first time, with absolute clarity, that her brother possessed abilities and experiences far beyond their imagination. Mr. Walker looked at his wife's visibly improved complexion, a trace of fear still lingering in his heart. Thank God Ethan was home. Mrs. Walker held my hand tightly. Ethan, your mother, am I going to be okay? Yes, take the medicine on time and it won't be a major issue, I said casually, as if I had just brushed some dust off her shoulder. Soon, Dr. Evans returned with the brewed medicine and personally helped Mrs. Walker drink it. Her complexion visibly returned to a healthy pink, and she was even able to sit up on her own. A miracle! It's a true miracle! Dr. Evans asked excitedly, Young Master Walker, this prescription, this acupuncture technique, where did you study? I had already stood up and packed away my metal case. I simply replied, an old man from the countryside. With that, I turned and went upstairs, leaving the Walker family and Dr. Evans behind, their minds reeling. Tiffany watched my retreating back and said, at this point, if Ethan told me he knew God personally, I'd believe him. Mr. Walker took a deep breath and instructed Alfred. From now on, regarding Madam's health, Ethan's opinion takes precedence. Yes, sir. He finally understood. His son was a walking encyclopedia and a master physician. After drinking the medicine, Mrs. Walker fell into a deep sleep, her face rosy and her breathing steady. Dr. Evans stood by, holding a copy of the prescription as if it were a priceless treasure, muttering, the synergy, the exquisite combination, the bold yet precise dosages, it's definitely a lost ancient formula. Young Master Walker is a genius. Mr. Walker told his daughters to go about their business while he sat by his wife's bedside, his mind still in turmoil. He couldn't stop replaying the image of his son's swift needle and calm demeanor. When he went to the living room, he found that none of his 3 daughters had left. They were all sitting on the sofa, their expressions a mix of emotions. Dad, did you see that? Ethan just did a couple of quick things, and Mom was fine. Nicole's eyes were bright. She had already done a preliminary comparative analysis of her mother's heart rate and blood pressure data before and after my intervention. The effect is unbelievably significant. That prescription, I checked the databases. The name, Tranquil Heart Decoction, only appears in a few scattered ancient texts. Victoria, the calmest of them, also had a look of shock in her eyes. Dr. Evans said that even if we had rushed her to the hospital and used the most advanced equipment and technology, the results might not have been as good or as fast as Ethan's. The 4 of them looked at each other and fell silent once again. I have to go ask him what's going on. How many more surprises does he have that we don't know about? Tiffany said, running up the stairs. My door was slightly ajar. I was sitting at my desk, seemingly processing some data on my computer, with Chloe standing quietly beside me. Tiffany knocked on the door and forced what she thought was her most charming smile. "Ethan, busy? Haha, that prescription for Mom, and that acupuncture thing you did, that was really amazing. Who did you learn that from?" Mr. Walker, Victoria, and Nicole also came in, their faces full of curiosity. My gaze swept over them, and I replied matter-of-factly, "It's a folk remedy I learned from an old traditional healer in the countryside." Tiffany's mouth twitched. What kind of countryside produces such geniuses? Maybe I should go take a class there sometime. I didn't respond, clearly having no intention of revealing the old healer's location. Victoria tried a different approach. "Ethan, what else have you studied, besides computers?" "I've learned a little bit of everything." "Ethan, when you say a little, what level are we talking about? Like what you did today?" I seemed to consider this seriously, then pointed to a crooked tree in the garden outside. "Probably, a little more than the gardener who prunes that tree." They followed my finger and saw Mr. Michaels, the world-renowned botanist and master gardener Mr. Walker, had hired from abroad for a hefty sum, meticulously pruning a valuable bonsai tree. Mr. Michaels was said to be a titan in his field. Knowing more than a titan in the field, that's a little? Tiffany felt like she was suffocating. Mr. Walker took a deep breath and decided to give up asking. He finally understood. For his son, a little meant expert level, and a folk remedy meant a lost, legendary art. "Ethan, thank you for saving your mother today." I nodded. Of course. My attitude was as natural as if I had just handed her a glass of water. The four of them left the room, gently closing the door. In the hallway, Tiffany grabbed her hair. "Ah, sisters, did you hear that? He knows more than Mr. Michaels. What Mr. Michaels charges to prune one tree is enough for me to buy a sports car." Nicole's eyes glazed over as she murmured, "I'm starting to suspect that when Ethan says, the countryside, he might be referring to some hidden, advanced civilization on Earth." Victoria rubbed her temples. "From now on, no matter what Ethan says or does, we are not to be surprised." Mr. Walker nodded gravely. "Sigh, I need to quickly get used to the fact that my son is an omnipotent master of folk remedies." Downstairs, Dr. Evans was still worshipping the prescription. Seeing Mr. Walker, he rushed over. "Mr. Walker, where is the young master? I want to become his apprentice." No, just letting me observe and learn from the side would be enough." "Dr. Evans, calm down. It was just a folk remedy." Dr. Evans thought, a folk remedy? What kind of folk remedy can practically bring someone back from the dead? The Walker family once again profoundly understood that there was a massive cognitive gap between them and me. At the base of Mulholland Drive, the crowd was roaring. Tonight's Canyon Road Race had drawn countless spectators. The entire Walker family was there. Tiffany, as a competitor, was eager to show off her skills, especially in front of her recently returned brother, Ethan, to regain some of her big sister cred. We sat in the spectator area by the side of the road, a massive screen in front of us broadcasting the race in real time. On the screen, Tiffany's custom pink sports car was unmistakable. She expertly navigated the winding mountain road, the roar of her engine blasting through the speakers, drawing cheers from the crowd. "Tiffany's skills are solid. She's got this," Nicole said with confidence in her sister. But Mrs. Walker clutched her clothes, her face full of worry. "This child, she just loves these dangerous things. It makes me so nervous." Mr. Walker's expression was calm, but his eyes were glued to the screen. Victoria periodically comforted their mother, her own gaze never leaving the pink sports car on the screen. I sat in the corner, holding a tablet, seemingly browsing casually but actually monitoring the race's real-time data. Chloe stood quietly beside me. As my personal assistant, she was always a woman of few words, but she could always anticipate my needs with precision. Halfway through the race, the image on the screen suddenly shook violently. The pink sports car, which had been leading, encountered an out-of-control truck coming from the opposite direction on a sharp turn. Blinding headlights filled the screen, and the crowd gasped. "What's happening?" On the screen, Tiffany yanked the steering wheel, and the sports car slammed into the guardrail. With a screech of metal and a loud crash, the car tumbled down the steep hillside. The screen immediately cut back to the panicked face of the host. "Tiffany." Mrs. Walker's vision went black, and she nearly fainted. "Mom!" Victoria quickly caught her. "Call an ambulance." The scene descended into chaos, and the Walker family was frantic. Nicole immediately pulled out her laptop to try and locate Tiffany's phone, but the signal in the canyon was weak. The screen showed only a fuzzy signal radius, making it impossible to pinpoint her exact location. "What do? We can't find her exact location. How will the rescue team find her?" Mrs. Walker was sobbing uncontrollably. Mr. Walker's face was grim as he repeatedly tried to call the rescue line, but he couldn't get through. Just then, I looked up. Latitude 34.105 degrees north, longitude 118.358 degrees west. Send this to the rescue team. "Ethan, how can you be so precise?" I caught the last signal from her phone before it disappeared. "I calculated the position based on the terrain and the trajectory of the fall," I said calmly. my fingers still flying across the tablet. Victoria didn't have time to ask questions and immediately relayed the coordinates to the rescue team. But a short while later, an anxious voice came over the radio. The terrain is too steep. It will take us another 40 minutes to reach that location. We don't have that kind of time. 40 minutes? Tiffany might not make it. Mr. Walker paced anxiously. Sir, let me go. I have professional training. I can do it. Chloe, usually so quiet, volunteered, catching everyone by surprise. I looked at her, my brow furrowing slightly. It was the first time since coming to the Walker family that I had shown any obvious emotion. It's too dangerous. I knew Chloe was skilled, but the night was dark, the slope was steep, and the risk was extremely high. My voice held a subtle note of concern that surprised the Walkers. I was usually so calm and detached, never showing such open emotion. Sir, Miss Tiffany is in critical condition. We can't wait any longer, Chloe said urgently, her eyes firm and determined. I was silent for a moment before finally nodding. All right, I'll guide you in real time. Be safe. I quickly sent the optimal route to her phone, my fingertips feeling slightly cold. Thank you, Chloe said, turning immediately. I'll be careful. Using the cover of darkness, she began to nimbly descend the slope. I stood frozen, my gaze locked on the direction she had gone. Ethan has never been this nervous about anyone before, Victoria observed, looking thoughtfully at my tense profile. The minutes ticked by, each second in agony. The crowd of spectators had dispersed, leaving only the anxious Walker family. Mrs. Walker prayed ceaselessly, Mr. Walker paced back and forth, and Nicole stared intently at Chloe's GPS signal on her phone. After more than half an hour, Chloe's voice finally came over the radio. Miss Tiffany is conscious. I'm bringing her up now. Another 10 minutes passed before two figures finally appeared at the bottom of the slope. Chloe was supporting Tiffany, her steps unsteady, but she was still protecting her firmly. Tiffany's face was pale, blood trickled from her forehead, and her left arm hung at an unnatural angle, clearly injured. Tiffany! Mrs. Walker rushed forward and hugged her daughter, crying tears of joy. The rescue team arrived at the same time and immediately began examining Tiffany's injuries. Their initial assessment was a broken left arm, multiple soft tissue contusions, and a mild concussion. They placed her on a stretcher and carried her to the ambulance. I hurried to Chloe's side and immediately noticed a large, dark stain spreading on her pants. I reached out and steadied her as she swayed. Chloe managed a weak smile. Sir, I'm fine. Don't worry. Before she could finish, her vision went black and she collapsed. I moved quickly, catching her in my arms. I lifted her pant leg and saw a long, deep gash on her thigh, still bleeding profusely. Quick, get her to the ambulance, I shouted, holding Chloe, my voice filled with a desperate urgency I had never shown before. In the hospital's emergency room, after providing initial treatment, the doctor came out with a grave expression. Doctor, how are they? Miss Tiffany's injuries are not life-threatening, but Miss Chloe has lost a lot of blood. The hospital is critically low on type A, and we need a non-relative donor. Low on blood? How can you be low on blood? This is an emergency. Is there any non-relative with type A blood? Mrs. Walker, Victoria, and Nicole all said they were type A. The doctor said, we'll draw your blood for a quick test. A few minutes later, the results were handed to the doctor. He glanced at them, his tone surprised. That's strange. All of you are related to Miss Chloe by blood. According to regulations, direct relatives cannot donate to each other due to the risk of rejection. Just then, I spoke up. I'm Rh negative. You can draw my blood for the emergency. My words were like a thunderclap, silencing the emergency room. Ethan, what did you say? You're Rh negative? Our entire family is type A. How could you be? Victoria's words trailed off, but everyone understood the implication. Mrs. Walker remembered something, her face turning pale. When you were born, there was a mix-up at the hospital. Our rival company interfered, and the babies were switched. We always thought it was a boy. We never thought twice. But I never imagined. I calmly produced a file. The surveillance records and staff transfer lists from that year are all here. Our rivals, in their attempt to strike at the Walker family, took me before even confirming the gender. Later, to cover their tracks, they even swapped the DNA samples for the test, which is why the report showed a familial match. The real Walker child is Chloe. They arranged for her to be my assistant, intending for her to live her life in a subordinate role. This revelation left everyone with a storm of emotions. Mrs. Walker looked at the unconscious Chloe in the hospital bed, tears streaming down her face. My daughter, you've suffered so much all these years. After an emergency transfusion, Chloe was finally out of danger and slowly regained consciousness. When she learned the truth about her identity, she looked at the family gathered around her bed, her eyes red with emotion. Tiffany, her arm in a sling, leaned over Chloe's bed and said through choked sobs, "So, we're the real family." Chloe gave a weak smile and a small nod. Tiffany, the past is the past. In the following days, the Walkers took turns caring for Chloe and Tiffany. The rival company's plot was fully exposed. Mr. Walker was furious. Anyone who dares to touch my family will pay the price. Cut off all their credit lines immediately. I want to see them in bankruptcy liquidation within a month. A few days later, both of them were discharged from the hospital. The sun was shining on the drive home. Tiffany sat in the car, looked at Chloe beside her and said, "I'm never street racing again. Seriously, having you as a sister is so much better than being the queen of Mulholland Drive." Back at the Walker mansion, everything returned to its usual warmth, but with a new kind of liveliness. Chloe officially integrated into the family as a Walker daughter. I was still the same calm Ethan, but when I looked at my family, there was a new warmth in my eyes. Mrs. Walker prepared a lavish feast to celebrate the safe return of her two daughters and the reunion of their family. At the dinner table, Tiffany, as lively as ever, peppered Chloe with questions. Victoria and Nicole also doted on their long-lost sister. A few months later, in the garden of the Walker mansion, the gardenias were in full bloom, their sweet fragrance filling the air. I sat on a stone bench, watching Chloe help Mrs. Walker prune the flowers in the distance. Dressed in a simple dress, the way her fingertips gently touched the petals was like a tranquil painting. "Ethan, have a cold drink. It's freshly squeezed watermelon juice." Victoria walked over with 2 glasses and handed one to me. Her movements were gentle, her eyes holding a perfect measure of concern. Ever since that night on Mulholland Drive, after I provided the precise coordinates and then gave Chloe an emergency blood transfusion at the hospital, her attitude towards me had changed. It was no longer the indulgence of an older sister for a younger brother, but a mix of respect and an indescribable softness. I took the glass and thanked her. I had just taken a sip when Tiffany ran over, a brand new game controller in her hand. "Ethan, play a couple of rounds with me." Her left arm had fully healed, and her personality was as lively as ever, but when she looked at me, the old bossiness of an older sister was gone, replaced by a hint of girlish shyness. Nicole sat on a nearby bench, her laptop open to an optimized mountain rescue route plan she had just finished. Seeing me look over, she said softly, "Ethan, come look at this. The fall trajectory data you calculated last time was very useful. I've made some additions based on it. Maybe it can help more people in the future." Her voice was gentle, and her gaze held clear admiration. I knew then how the 3 Walker sisters felt about me. These feelings stemmed from the life and death rescue on Mulholland Drive, from the support we gave each other in a desperate situation. It had nothing to do with blood ties or status, it was just pure affection. But my heart was already full of Chloe. From her selfless rescue to our life and death struggle in the hospital, her courage and gentleness were deeply engraved in my soul. Chloe seemed to notice the activity and walked over with a smile, holding a freshly cut piece of mango. "Ethan, try this. It's freshly cut." She held the mango to my lips, the tenderness in her eyes as clear as a stream, filled with an understanding that only we shared. Victoria looked at us and said, "Chloe, you're the Walker family's treasure now. If anyone dares to bully you, the 3 of us will never forgive them." In the sunlight, the golden rays bathed the garden, casting our shadows, Chloe's and mine, long across the grass. Time passed quietly, and several months flew by in an instant. The feelings they had once tried to suppress began to quietly resurface, unfolding in a way that was not overt, but was nevertheless clear. Victoria remained gentle, but her concern for me grew more detailed. Whenever Chloe and I visited the Walker home, she would always have my favorite watermelon juice ready on the table, and the study would be stocked with financial magazines I was interested in. Occasionally, when Mr. Walker and I discussed business, she would sit quietly nearby, offering a glass of water at the right moment or softly mentioning a key piece of information when I was deep in thought, participating in a way that was both subtle and helpful. Once, I casually mentioned that I liked handmade wooden ornaments. Not long after, a uniquely shaped wood carving appeared on my bookshelf. Victoria said nonchalantly, "I saw it while I was out shopping and thought it was unique, so I bought it. If you like it, you can display it." I saw the fleeting hope in her eyes and understood, but I could only smile, thank her, and then give the ornament to Chloe. Chloe adored it, holding it in her hands. When Victoria saw this, her eyes dimmed for a moment before her gentle smile returned. Tiffany's approach was more direct, but still measured. She no longer just asked me to play video games, but would find all sorts of excuses to meet with me alone. One day it was a new esports arena with amazing equipment that she wanted me to try, the next she wanted to learn to drive and asked me to be her instructor. Every time we met, she would be dressed to impress and was much more talkative than usual. She would excitedly tell me funny stories about her life, or sneak glances at me while I was driving, her eyes filled with an affection she couldn't hide. Once, while we were out practicing driving, we passed a dessert shop. She insisted on going in to buy ice cream and specifically chose my favorite flavor, chocolate. When she handed it to me, her fingertips were slightly warm. "The ice cream here is amazing. You have to try it." I took the ice cream, saw the blush on her cheeks, and could only pretend not to notice. I smiled and started talking about driving techniques, deliberately avoiding the feelings in her eyes. Nicole remained quiet and reserved, her feelings hidden in her professionalism and attention to detail. Ever since the mountain rescue route optimization, she would often seek me out to discuss work. She would send me the latest route data, highlighting the parts that needed my help with calculations. Sometimes, she would even come to a coffee shop near my office, and we would work through the logic on her laptop together. Her gaze was focused, and she was clear and articulate when discussing professional matters. But in the occasional pauses, when her eyes rested on me, there was an almost imperceptible softness. One evening, we talked late, and a light rain began to fall. She took an umbrella from her bag and handed it to me. The rain isn't heavy, but you shouldn't get wet. I noticed the umbrella had a matte finish handle, my favorite kind, which she had clearly prepared specifically. I took the umbrella, thanked her softly, and turned to see Chloe waiting for me nearby, holding her own umbrella. I walked quickly to her, closed Nicole's umbrella, took the one Chloe was holding, and naturally put my arm around her shoulder. Nicole stood where she was, watching our retreating figures. She slowly closed her laptop, the smile on her lips fading slightly. Their feelings were all pure, without any malice or rivalry, just different ways of expressing an affection that had never died. This subtle pursuit gave me enough space to not feel cornered or overly awkward. But the answer in my heart had never changed. The image of Chloe had long since filled my every thought. Every kind gesture from them only made my feelings for Chloe clearer. Chloe, being perceptive, naturally noticed the change in the three sisters. But she never showed any anxiety or suspicion, remaining gentle and composed. Whenever Victoria prepared something I liked, Chloe would accept it with a smile and sincerely praise Victoria for her thoughtfulness. When Tiffany took me to the esports arena or for driving practice, Chloe would remind me to be safe, and then listen eagerly to our stories when we returned. When Nicole and I discussed work, she would sit quietly nearby, reading a book or preparing tea for us. Once, when Chloe and I were alone, she asked me softly, "Ethan, have you noticed that the sisters have been acting a little different towards you lately?" I took her hand and looked her straight in the eye. "But you're the only one in my heart. It's always been just you." A gentle smile lit up Chloe's eyes, and she leaned her head on my shoulder. "I know. I trust you." The next day, I made plans with Chloe in advance and drove her to the county clerk's office. Chloe sat in the passenger seat, curiously watching the scenery fly by. She asked softly, "Ethan, what are we doing here?" I held her hand, feeling the coolness of her palm, my gaze serious and firm. "I want to change our names." Chloe froze, blinking, her long eyelashes fluttering like butterfly wings. "Change our names?" "Yes," I nodded, my voice gentle but firm. "You are a daughter of the Walker family, so you should have their name. I want you to be Chloe Walker, to be a part of this family. And I want to drop my last name. I'll just be Ethan, just your Ethan, to protect you and keep you safe for the rest of your life, with no other distractions." Chloe's eyes instantly turned red. Tears welled up, but she smiled brightly. She nodded vigorously, her voice choked with emotion. "I'll listen to you, Ethan. From now on, I'm Chloe Walker, and I'll be just your Chloe Walker." The process of changing our names was smooth. The moment she received her new ID, Chloe held it carefully, her fingertips tracing the name Chloe Walker over and over, her eyes filled with a happy smile. Sunlight streamed through the office window, illuminating her face and making the beauty mark near her eye even more distinct. I pulled her into my arms and placed a soft kiss on her forehead. "For the rest of my life, I belong only to you." When the news of our name change reached the Walker home, Mrs. Walker couldn't stop smiling. She held Chloe's hand, stroking it. "Chloe Walker, it's a wonderful name, perfect for our girl." Mr. Walker also nodded, his eyes full of approval as he looked at me. "Yes, Ethan, that was very thoughtful. You must treat Chloe well from now on." "Dad, don't worry, I will." The three sisters' reactions, however, were more complex. Victoria looked at us, her face still holding a gentle smile, but a flicker of disappointment passed through her eyes. She picked up her glass of water, took a sip, and said softly, "Chloe, Ethan, congratulations. Changing your names is a good thing. It's just, I'll have to get used to calling you Chloe Walker now." As she spoke, she snuck a glance at me, unable to hide the sadness in her eyes. Nicole said softly, "The meaning is beautiful. I wish you both the best." But the hand resting on her lap quietly clenched into a fist. I knew they hadn't completely let go. I had to make a clean break, both to honor Chloe's trust and to not hold back the three sisters from their own lives. That weekend, the Walker family held a dinner party. The garden was decorated with festive lights, and red lanterns hung from the gardenia branches, casting a warm glow over the yard. Mr. Walker raised his glass and smiled. "I've gathered everyone today, first to celebrate Chloe and Ethan's name change, and second, to have a nice family get-together." Everyone raised their glasses, the clinking of crystal echoing through the garden amidst laughter and cheerful conversation. Halfway through the dinner, I put down my glass, took a deep breath, and stood up. "Elders, sisters, I have something important to announce." All eyes turned to me. Chloe, sitting beside me, looked up, her eyes filled with a mix of confusion and anticipation. I took her hand. Her fingertips were slightly cool, but she squeezed back tightly, giving me strength. My gaze swept over everyone present, finally settling on the three sisters. Sisters, thank you for all the care and affection you've shown me. From our mixed-up first meeting to all the time we've spent together since, I've seen and cherished your kindness, sincerity, and gentleness. Victoria, you always quietly prepared my favorite things and subtly reminded me of key information when Dad and I discussed business. Your thoughtfulness and grace made me feel the warmth of family. I looked at Victoria. Her eyes were slightly red, and the wine glass in her hand trembled. Tiffany, you introduced me to so many new things. From the sports arena to driving practice, you brought so much fun into my life. Your energy and sincerity are like a small sun, warming everyone around you. Tiffany looked down, her long eyelashes hiding the emotion in her eyes, her shoulders trembling slightly. Nicole, you always used work as a reason to discuss professional matters with me. I deeply admire your focus and your gentle nature. Nicole raised a hand to her hair, trying to hide the moisture in her eyes. I am incredibly grateful to all of you. My voice was gentle but firm. In my heart, you will always be Chloe's dear sisters, and you will always be my sisters. I will cherish this family bond forever, and I will take good care of Chloe. After saying this, I no longer hesitated. I took a velvet box from my pocket, knelt on one knee, and opened it. Inside was a simple, elegant diamond ring, its stone shimmering with a soft yet steady light. I had this ring custom made, with our initials engraved on the inside, symbolizing our inseparable bond. I looked up at Chloe, my eyes full of love. Chloe, after all these years together, I thought my feelings for you were just a habit born of long companionship. But when you were injured, I finally understood my heart. I know I don't have any fancy words, only a heart that wants to spend the rest of my life with you. Will you marry me? Chloe was completely stunned, tears instantly streaming down her face. She nodded vigorously, her voice choked with emotion. I will. I stood up, gently placed the ring on her finger, and then pulled her into a tight embrace. Her body trembled as she held onto my waist, as if trying to merge herself with me. Mrs. Walker's eyes were already red. She held Mr. Walker's hand, repeating, "This is wonderful, just wonderful." "Yes," Mr. Walker said, a relieved smile on his face as he discreetly wiped the corner of his eye with his sleeve. "The children's hardships are finally over. From now on, our family is truly whole." Victoria came forward and gently patted my shoulder, a look of genuine relief on her face. "I wish you both happiness." "Thank you, Victoria. I will take good care of Chloe." Tiffany also came up, her eyes a little red, but her smile was sincere. "Ethan, you better be good to my sister," she said, gently pinching Chloe's cheek. The two sisters looked at each other and smiled, all barriers between them melting away. "Don't worry, Tiffany." Nicole pushed up her glasses and said softly, "Chloe, Ethan, I wish you happiness. From now on, we are still one family." Her tone was still gentle, but it now held a sense of peace and sincerity. Chloe and I exchanged a look, our eyes filled with gratitude and happiness. I knew that the three sisters had truly let go, and their blessing was pure and precious. In the following days, we began to plan our wedding. Chloe said she had always dreamed of a lawn wedding, under the sun, surrounded by the scent of flowers, receiving the blessings of friends and family. "Okay," I immediately agreed. "Whatever you want, I will do my best to make it happen." The wedding was set for the following spring, at a private estate in the countryside. The estate's lawn was perfectly manicured, like a green velvet carpet. It was surrounded by all kinds of flowers. Cherry blossoms, roses, and tulips bloomed in a riot of color and fragrance. We even planted a patch of gardenias along the edge of the lawn, a nod to the Walker family garden and a symbol of our pure and lasting love. During the wedding preparations, the three sisters volunteered to help. Victoria, with her meticulous attention to detail, took charge of the wedding schedule and guest reception, considering every single detail. She personally selected the party favors, customizing them to each guest's preferences, and even rearranged the seating chart countless times to ensure everyone had a comfortable experience. She also contacted the best florists to make sure the flowers on the wedding day would be fresh, full, and fragrant. Tiffany, energetic and lively, was in charge of booking the band and setting the atmosphere, ensuring the wedding would be a festive celebration. She chose a band that specialized in romantic music and prepared many interactive games so that all the guests could participate and have fun. She also personally designed the wedding signs, decorating them with cute fonts and illustrations that added a warm, personal touch. Nicole, with her talent for data analysis and coordination, was responsible for managing the budget and staff, keeping everything organized and on track. She even created contingency plans in case of any unexpected issues. She made detailed spreadsheets, recording every expense clearly, and logically assigned duties to the staff to ensure the wedding day would go off without a hitch. Watching them bustle around, Chloe leaned against me and said softly, "Ethan, I'm so glad to have the sisters here." I held her tightly. "Yes, they are all wonderful people. We must be good to them in the future." On the wedding day, the weather was perfect. It was sunny and bright, with a gentle breeze. The estate was festively decorated, and the air was filled with happiness. Guests began to arrive, their faces full of blessings and smiles. Mr. and Mrs. Walker, dressed in formal attire, warmly greeted each guest, the joy in their eyes impossible to hide. Chloe, in a pristine white wedding gown, her veil cascading down to frame her elegant neckline, held a bouquet of gardenias and white roses as she walked slowly towards me, escorted by her father. The train of her dress was long, trailing across the lawn like a blooming snow lotus. Her face was adorned with delicate makeup, her eyes gentle, her lips curved in a shy, happy smile, and her gaze was fixed only on me. The red carpet on the lawn was strewn with pink flower petals, and the band played a soft, romantic wedding march. The sunlight fell on her, seeming to cloak her in a holy glow. My heart began to race, my eyes locked on her, unable to look away. From our first encounter on Mulholland Drive to this moment, scenes flashed through my mind. Her courage, her gentleness, her trust, all were deeply imprinted on my heart. I stood in a sharp black suit, holding a bouquet of sunflowers, her favorite flower, a symbol of sunshine and warmth. Mr. Walker placed Chloe's hand in mine. Ethan, Chloe is our family's long-lost treasure. I'm entrusting her to you. You must take good care of her and love her for the rest of your life. I held Chloe's hand tightly, my voice firm. I will, Dad. I will spend my life protecting her, cherishing her, and loving her, and I will never leave her side. Mr. Walker nodded in satisfaction and returned to his seat next to Mrs. Walker. The couple exchanged a smile, full of contentment. The wedding ceremony began. The officiant stood before us and asked gently, Ethan, do you take Chloe Walker to be your wife? To have and to hold, in good times and in bad, for richer or for poorer, in sickness and in health, for the rest of your life. I do. My voice was clear and firm, my eyes locked on Chloe's, which were filled with my deep love for her. I knew these two words were not just a promise, but a vow for my entire life. Chloe Walker, do you take Ethan to be your husband? To have and to hold, for richer or for poorer, in sickness and in health, to love and to cherish, for the rest of your life. Chloe looked at me, her eyes filled with tears, but she smiled with pure happiness. I do. Those simple words carried the weight of a lifelong commitment to each other. A tear rolled from the corner of her eye and fell onto her white dress like a glistening pearl. We exchanged rings. I gently placed the ring on Chloe's finger, and she did the same for me. The moment our fingertips touched, it felt like a warm, steady current passed between us. This small ring bound our lives together forever. I now pronounce you husband and wife. May you live a long and happy life together. As soon as the officiant finished speaking, the air erupted with applause and cheers. Colorful balloons floated into the sky, and streamers rained down, enveloping the entire estate in an atmosphere of joy. I leaned down and gently kissed Chloe's lips. They were soft and warm, with the faint scent of gardenias. In that moment, time seemed to stand still. Everything around us blurred, leaving only the sound of our heartbeats and our breath. The second year after our wedding, Chloe came to me, holding a pregnancy test report, her fingertips trembling as she handed it to me, her eyes shining with tears. Ethan, look, we're having a baby. I took the report, my mind going blank for a second before an indescribable joy washed over me. I pulled her into a tight hug. Really, Chloe? We're going to be parents. She leaned against my chest, nodding and smiling, though tears streamed down her face. The doctor said it's been 5 weeks. This news was like a stone dropped into a calm pond, sending ripples of excitement through our lives. Mrs. Walker arrived that very day, laden with bags of nutritional supplements. The moment she walked in, she took Chloe's hand, her eyes red as she looked from Chloe's face to her stomach as if she had found a rare treasure. My dear girl, this is wonderful. You must take good care of yourself from now on, no more getting tired. Whatever you want to eat or drink, Mom will make it for you. Mr. Walker followed behind her, carrying an elegant wooden box containing wild ginseng he had specially sourced. His tone was calm, but he couldn't hide his smile. Chloe, build up your strength. If you need anything at all, just tell your father. Victoria took her annual leave the very next day and reported for duty at our house. She brought a stack of pregnancy books and started making a variety of nutritious meals for Chloe every day. From today on, I am your full-time head of logistics. She had even compiled a pregnancy diet guide, written in her beautiful handwriting. See, in the first trimester, you should avoid spicy food. I made you some yam and millet porridge. It can help with morning sickness. It smells so good. Yes, drink it slowly, don't burn yourself. Chloe held the warm bowl of porridge, her heart full of warmth. Victoria, you didn't have to take time off work for me. Victoria waved her hand, her smile gentle. Silly girl, you and the baby are the most important things right now. Tiffany transformed into the entertainment director. She arrived early on the weekend with a pile of CDs and picture books. Chloe, I found a ton of soothing prenatal music, and this book, Baby's Wonderful World. The pictures are so cute. Let's read stories to the baby together. She sat on the sofa, reading the book with great expression, even imitating animal sounds, which made Chloe laugh out loud. Ha ha ha, Tiffany, your impressions are so good. The baby can definitely feel your joy. Tiffany lifted her chin proudly. Of course, you forgot. I was in the drama club in college. Yep, the baby's early education is all on me. Nicole, ever the coordinator, handed me a thick folder. The prenatal checkup schedule, fetal movement monitoring, and prenatal yoga classes are all marked. I've also included resumes for nannies and a comparison of postpartum care centers. See if you need to make any adjustments. I opened the folder. The charts inside were impeccably organized. You're so thorough. You've even listed the dissolution rate of formula and the breathability of different diapers. A faint smile played on Nicole's lips. It's all necessary. The baby's safety is the most important thing. These are things we have to consider in advance. Chloe's first trimester symptoms weren't severe, but she often felt tired and sleepy. I cleared my schedule of most non-essential work to come home on time and be with her. Every night, I would gently rest my head on her belly, listening for the faint movements inside, imagining the tiny life quietly growing. Chloe would smile and stroke my hair, her eyes full of dreams. Ethan, do you think the baby will be more like you, or more like me? I held her hand, nuzzling her palm. I hope the baby is like you, gentle and kind. And if they have your eyes, they'll be beautiful. She smiled, her eyes crinkling, the moonlight on her face impossibly soft. Well, I hope the baby is like you, brave and responsible, so they can protect themselves in the future. As the weeks went by, Chloe's belly grew larger, and moving became more difficult. At night, she often had trouble sleeping due to back pain, so I would stay up with her, massaging her back and helping her find a comfortable position. Sigh, Ethan, you don't have to stay up with me. You have work tomorrow. I shook my head and continued to gently massage her back. It's fine. How can I sleep when you're uncomfortable? Besides, being able to be here with you and the baby makes me happy. Sometimes, she would crave wontons from an old, all-night diner, and I would throw on a coat and run out to get them. Coming back with the warm soup and watching her eat with satisfaction felt sweeter than eating it myself. Is it good? If it's not enough, I can go get more. Chloe nodded, her eyes full of dependence. It's delicious. The ones you buy always taste the best. I knew the road ahead was long, and there might be storms, but as long as I had them, this loving family, by my side, I had the courage to face anything. This happiness, woven from love, would be like the gardenias in the yard, fragrant year after year, warming every day of the rest of our lives.